Hello, guys. Welcome to Monitoring and Evaluation Made Simple. I'm your host, Coach Alexander. I'm so glad that you've joined me today on this YouTube channel. We'll be considering 7 tips to writing an effective monitoring and evaluation report in 2021, guys. So I want to make this clear to you guys that reporting is everything in M&E, but you have to do it the right way. I want to show you exactly how I do it. Many people have their own style, but that is not a bad thing because you need to do something that works both for you and your organization. Okay, so I know you probably know me by now. I keep on saying this to my fans and friends. But for those of you who are here for the very first time, I am a specialist, a professional who's been in this game for 10 years, all right? I know some of you might think that I'm trying to show off, but it's just the truth because this is what I've done, this is what I love doing, and I've helped many people improve on their skills. For those of you who may have missed the coaching program, don't worry, it will be on in June or July. A new window will be open for people to apply. But I just wanted to also mention that we've been doing some promotion of our products, the face masks. These are branded face masks, and we've got nice branded t-shirts of M&D Made Simple. So if you want to support this channel, please guys support us by clicking the link in the description below. We've left a link, so please support us so that we continue giving you great content. Okay, and we have these free ebooks. Please download them. They're in the link below, as well as the Udemy course, How to Set Up a Monitoring and Evaluation System. It's only $12 or $13 somewhere there. Okay, the timestamps, use the timestamps in the description below because they're going to help you navigate this video in an effective manner so that maybe you don't want to watch the whole video, so you want to skip certain parts. Please use the timestamps in the description below. Okay, so tip number 1, follow the standard format of reporting. You see, when writing a report, guys, you need to always follow the standard format. You need a title page, you need table of contents, you need the introduction, the objectives, methodology, findings, and conclusion. You don't need to be too detailed if you don't want to be. But what I think is very important to the reader is the findings, the methodology, okay? And perhaps even the conclusion and recommendations, because all in all, when you do these M&D activities, you need to tell the readers and also the stakeholders what you think should be done to improve the implementation. It's always important to do that. But I also want to mention that you need to be doing this in order to show that your proficiency when it comes to uh, creating these kind of reports. Okay. Tip number 2, tabulate your results alongside the log frame. Okay, so I've given you an example of a logical framework. Okay, it's so much enjoyable reading a report when the reader actually knows why you're writing this report and how it links to the logical framework. So we have the log frame. I just brought up an example of a log frame which has a goal of improved agriculture yield. Then the objective verifiable indicators are, of course, the agriculture production increased. The way they frame this indicator is not the right way, okay? But I'm just using it as an example. The right way is actually just to say level of productivity, because what they've done here is give you direction. That's not how an indicator should be framed. It should be neutral because it can either be positive, it can either go positive or negative. Okay, so what I normally do is this is our log frame. What I normally do is that I'll copy this log frame, put it in the findings section, then only delete these 2 sections and replace these columns with results, baseline, and stuff like that. So what I'm actually saying is I'll do something like this. Okay. So instead of having what you saw in the previous slide, I'll have the baseline, I'll have the results and the net change. And what that will do is that for each of these indicators, I'll just populate this section with the baseline and with the results that I have collected for that year. And you can also do it for subsequent years so that the reader actually knows that, okay, this was what was achieved, this is what the M&D specialist saw, and this is the change that was achieved that year. Okay. But in reality, the monitoring is not done at this high level usually, but there are some unique indicators that you can actually do annually, such as agriculture productivity, because let's face it, the farmers grow these crops on an annual basis, but it's still debatable whether the change can actually happen annually or it will take time. Okay, so this was just a recommendation for you guys if you want to improve the way your report actually comes out. Be concise and straight to the point. We don't want to have an encyclopedia of a report. Okay, it shouldn't be too bulky. What I've come to learn is that many of the readers today tend to be impatient. They don't want to do too much reading, and it's even myself, I don't like to do too much reading. The reason is simple: there's just not enough time. And as the world becomes more and more busy, more and more complex, there's really little time for even yourself. So the more concise, the better, and only writing what is relevant. Tip number 4: using infographics in your reporting. I like the way the United Nations did their Sustainable Development Goals report. Okay, they did a lot of infographics in that report, and it was quite fun to read. I think that's the direction to go. Infographics basically are these kind of images. You know, when you have images that denote something, like let's say this hat denotes academic orientation. If you look at this image here, it denotes production centered. So you can have certain infographics denoting something. Of course, I gave the example of the United Nations. That is their style of trying to capture attention. In your organization, you may have your style to capture attention depending on the audience you're targeting. If it's an internal document, they may not require you to have these kind of infographics that you see here, these images. But in case they want to target a wider audience, they may want to include those infographics. So you can put them in. If you don't know how to design them, you can always ask people for help. I feel I can help you design if you want me to help you design some infographics, or you can hire a much stronger expert in this field. Use graphs and charts. Very, very important. So important. I've gotten this a lot of times. It's interesting because some people actually think that an M&D system is about graphs and charts. Okay. So when somebody comes to you, no, please build me an M&D system, they're actually telling you that no, they actually want reports that have graphs. It's interesting because an M&D system is more than that, but that is how other people take it. So you can see that graphs and charts are very important, and it's something that you should consider using a lot in your report. What I do sometimes is I'll have these graphs and charts in the main body of the report, especially in the findings, but the actual tables will be in the annex because people don't usually find tables interesting in the main body of the report. But when you have graphs and charts, they find that more interesting. Be analytical, mention both the positives and negatives. Okay. So we shouldn't be always looking at what is negative out of the implementation of the project, but when writing this report, let's also look at the positive, mention the areas where the project implementation did well and the areas where they need to improve. Then the report will be well welcomed. And finally, the final tip, guys, is to circulate the report for comments and work on each and every comment. I've talked about this a lot of times, and the reason why this is important is because many of your stakeholders have their own point of view. But it's not only that, a lot of some stakeholders actually can be very critical. So instead of wasting your time trying to battle, trying to fight them, tell them to comment where they want the change to be. As long as they're not changing the findings, that's fine. Okay, you can make changes, you can accommodate those people and come up with a document which everybody will agree with. Because what I've noticed in my experience is that for a report to actually be accepted, it's really dependent on who is reviewing it. And one of the things I have learned from experience is that people have their own tastes. It's not really about whether the report is good or bad. No, people just have their own tastes. So if you have a boss that is just has a weird taste, no matter how good your report is, if that person has a weird taste, he will keep on shooting your report down, shooting until you correct the report to his liking. I've seen this happen a lot of times. So what you just need to do is accommodate the people's viewpoints. As long as it's not changing the findings, it's okay. So I want to say thank you, and please, guys, support this channel. If you have any questions, write to me. Until we meet again, I've been your host, Coach Alexander, and see you on the other side. Bye.